they can woo you, but the honeymoon period can end very, very quickly. Be real, I'm going, what?
I never thought that would work.
No one wants it real.
Yeah.
It is actually easier to get a divorce than it is to separate from a business partner.
All right, Janine, we've got some questions from our Business Academy friends and students. We've got one from Jason. Let me just put this on.
Hi, Janine and Matt. Jason from sunny Victoria here. My question is, what's one unconventional lesson or insight from your journey that you think has been crucial to your success? I'd love to know. Have a great day. Cheers.
Jason, that's a great question. Pretty much everything I do is unconventional. Yeah, so I was a young mum, 32, with 3 kids at home, living and working from home. And I had long hair right to my bum. I would never go to meetings in suits. Everyone else back then you had to always dress up. I just was so busy and so just doing my thing that I just went, I'm just going to be me. And it was interesting because back then also there wasn't a lot of women in business. So I was always the only woman in a room. And it was unconventional back then. It was sort of not, you're supposed to, if you're going to be a woman, you need to have high heels and a suit instead of having long hair to my bum and, we normally came in with my dog.
Yeah, it is unconventional. And the fact that you opened up how many stores in 4 years?
Yeah. And look, probably from the day we started Boost to 4 years, we had 100 stores. Now, it is unconventional, but I think naivety played an amazing part because I didn't put any barriers on what we could have achieved. It was literally like, okay, let's get going and let's just do it and work it out as we go. And I think, again, that's unconventional. So did I have mentors? No. Did I do a course? No. Did I do a business degree, an MBA? No. I just did. I just went in and learnt it the way I learnt it, which in fairness is very unconventional.
It is unconventional. I remember I was 16 years old or 15 playing a gig for a chicken schnitzel and for $50 as a high school kid. That was my part-time job because I wanted to be a rock star musician. I ended up touring with Jimmy Barnes and a couple other artists later on in life, so it was cool.
Tick.
But I remember sitting there getting frustrated because there wasn't many people there. And I'd come home one day and I was just cranky at my dad saying, oh, what's the point of even trying? I didn't even sing much today. I just saved my voice. No one's listening, just the staff. And he's like, he taught me a good lesson. Like, you just never know who's watching you. Don't stop singing and sing the best you can as if there was a full crowd there. You just never know who's watching. And literally 2 weeks later, I got a call from some guy saying, hey, could you play at the Westfield opening at my city? And that was a big gig. I was $1,000 as a kid. And I played all week for the store, for the opening in the biggest part of the centre with the most traffic. And I'll never forget, and I've taken that lesson into life and business. You just never know who's watching you when you're on your way and you've got a message. Give the best you've got. Don't undersell the quality.
You also don't know where things lead. Like a lot of kids come up to me and go, or people who are getting out of university and going, I need to start here. It's like, you know what, just start. Because you never know, like your example, you never know who's going to see it or who you're going to meet that will open another door, which will open another door. And I know that I look back at my life of the amount of so-called coincidences that have happened that have actually directed me into another direction, which has always ended up the best direction. So I think to your point is just keep doing it. And it's like meat in the grinder. It will come out.
Yeah, definitely. We've got another question from our friend Jack.
Go, Jack.
Hey, Janine and Matt. I've got a question around pricing models. I've commonly seen 2 models and I just wanted to hear your thoughts on them, whether one works better than the other and whether or not you can switch between them. The first one is low pricing, high quantities, average quality. For example, Temu entering US, Australia markets and disrupting the market share of Amazon with lots of low price products. The second model is high pricing, low quantities, high quality, such as tailored services where they will place their pricing and branding in such a way that they'll have less customers, but all the customers are willing to pay and are high quality customers.
Great question, Jack. The answer to it is neither's wrong or right. You've got to know your brand. Like Temu, Right? Temu has come in and they're not pretending they're a high quality brand. You look at their website, you look at everything they do and it looks cheap. It looks like reject shop, right? Now, both models are great models. They're saying, come to us, it'll be cheap. May not last, but it'll be cheap. Now, it's not actually about what people are looking for is value. So, for example, if you were a Bentley buyer, right, and if you bought a Bentley for maybe $300,000, you might think that's good value because of the quality, the craftsman, the history, the brand. It's great value. If you are into bags, right, which I'm so not into bags, but if you are, you might find buying a Gucci bag is good value. So you've got to price things really carefully. Like in some respects, people in their head understand what they think is value. So if I came up and said, our smoothies are now worth $30. They are great smoothies. They taste yum, but it's $30 per smoothie. You would go, that's poor value. And even though you'd go, well, hang on, you'd make more money if it's $30, you'd have less sales. So it's really important that you price your product at what it is valued. And when you market, if you're going to be Regis Shop and Tumi, yeah, sure, you should be. You should look like a JB Hi-Fi. You'll have a look at JB Hi-Fi, right? It's deliberately created as a brand that you go in and go, this is cheap, right? You walk into a Chanel, you have got people up to their nines and they're beautiful. The store's beautiful. It smells beautiful. You expect to pay a lot of money. Same with Tiffany, right? Talk about the packaging of a Tiffany box, right? So you actually pay more for your gold necklace at Tiffany because it's a Tiffany and you see that as great value. So either to Jack's question is, there is not a right or wrong, but understand what your brand is and where it sits in whether you're in the cheap and cheerful or you're in the luxury brand, and market effectively and appropriately for that.
Yeah, that's so brilliant. And black and white for me, some people think cheap's bad or that's bad. There's a place for both ends of the spectrum. Like look at food. We got McDonald's, and what do we pay for McDonald's? You wouldn't go to McDonald's and imagine Gordon Ramsay went to McDonald's to rate the burgers. It's like, what's the expectation isn't they don't expect like a 5-star thing there, like a Michelin star. But what are people getting for value? Speed, and affordability. And convenience versus going to a 5-star and you're waiting there for 40 minutes, but it's come from some farm in Australia and it's sourced.
Well, you look at, for example, you've got Betty's Burgers and Grilled, which are gourmet burgers, and you've got your KFC and your McDonald's, right? So you'd expect to pay more. You've got your Zara, right? Zara they are known for 6 weeks in and out, we're fast fashion, right? But we will rip off every big designer out there and give it to you cheap. So you expect to go in there and it's a bit of a mess and it's a bit hectic, but I think the key thing is understanding who you are and what you are as a brand, and then price accordingly. When you actually price, people think pricing is something you think about later. People go, oh, I need to make this. End of the day, you got to go customer first. What would the customer prepared to pay? What would they be prepared to pay for a Gucci bag, a Bentley, a Zara, or a McDonald's? What are they prepared to pay? What do the competitors pay? And so pricing is all about marketing.
That's really good.
Good question, Jack.
Allis, thoughts on investors versus fully owning equity if you can fund it? Again, thoughts on investors versus fully own equity if you can fund it?
Yeah, no, look, really good question. At the end of the day, I personally believe that if you don't need the money, try and do it yourself. It is actually easier to get a divorce than it is to actually separate from a business partner. Now, and I have had good business partners and I have had horrible business partners, and it is no fun. Actually, it's hard enough running a business, let alone dealing with disgruntled business partners. So I think that what you find though in business, you get quite lonely, right? And you've got no one to bounce off, and quite often people get business partners in for that reason too. All I would suggest is that if you need that, invest in a advisory board. Or invest in things like the Business Academy. So you're actually surrounded by other like-minded people that you can bounce off. Things like YPO or the CEO Circle or any of those business groups. I would invest in there before I would think about a partner, unless it's a strategic partner. Strategic partner, I mean, what can if you add your business to them or your brain to their brain, can that equal 10 instead of 2? So, for example, if you're a manufacturer and then you do a JV with someone who's got similar clients but overseas, you go, oh my God, they can then take my product and launch it overseas. That could be a win-win. So when you're asking yourself the question, do I want an investor? If they come into your business, how will they make this business better? So if you don't need the cash, personally, don't take a partner on.
That's so good, because I've seen, in my view, a trend and an attitude that if people show interest in wanting to invest in your business, it's so flattering.
It is flattering.
It's so flattering, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you got a great, I'd love to invest. And people are like, oh, okay, so you take it, and without those questions.
Yeah.
So I feel like right now there is a lot of that on socials and in our current generation.
Oh, yeah, completely. And I think, look, you work so hard and in business, particularly in the early days, well, actually not even the early days, always, it is flattering if someone goes, and they normally start with congratulations, you've done such a great job, and they can woo you, but the honeymoon period can end very, very quickly, right? And I've seen people come in, there was a juice bar earlier on that they came in and pretty much pushed him out. Actually, it wasn't a juice bar, it was a juice product. And he got investors in, and then he got more investors in, and eventually he didn't understand his shareholders agreement, and they eventually just kicked him out of the business completely.
Wow.
So it can go pear-shaped very quickly. So it can work. I had a great business partner called Jeff Harris, who was fantastic. I've also had business partners that weren't so great, and it is not fun.
Mm-hmm. We'll go with one more question. The chat's going off. So for those listening, our Business Academy guys in our cohort, there's this Slack channel for questions, and it's just full of questions. And
They're big novels.
They are novels. Hi, Janine. I have 2 general questions. The first question is, and how to exist and succeed in an environment with strong competitors. Let's just start there.
Okay, great. Look, every business, I can't think of a business that doesn't have a competitor. My advice to anyone who has competitors is 2 things. First and foremost, be a customer, right? Because people go, I'll never go there. You might learn something and you might find out what they're doing. But my second piece of advice is focus on your customers, not your competitor, which is kind of counterintuitive because I'm saying being a customer. So be aware, but don't go to war with them. Don't the amount of wars we were at juice bars, the amount of wars we had when in the 2004 to 2006 with all the juice bars opening up, and they were attacking us everywhere. I just ignored them. I just went, just do what we do well, focus on our customers, focus on your strategy where you're going, and you'll be fine. If you get caught up or distracted by what a competitor's doing and then trying to counteract them, it actually, the customer hates it. They just don't like it. So don't do it. Focus on your own customers, not trying to destroy another business, because to be honest, they'll destroy themselves if they're coming to get you.
That's so good. Yeah, a lot of businesses will tie the noose around their own neck by trying to get in that rat race. And if you personify a business and make it a human, what makes a secure human? What makes you a confident person? You don't want to compare yourself in that way, even in society, where you're like, oh yeah, they look better than me. I'm going to have to wear what they wear, have their hairstyle, and it may not suit you. And that's what tends to happen. Like in branding and marketing, the worst thing people do is they just become cheap copies of their competition. I do the website test. You just look at your competitor and just swap out the logo, swap out the colors, and just change the copy a little bit so it doesn't look plagiarized. And that's what so many people do. They're like, come to us and do that.
Well, you can imagine Boost, right? And all the other brands that we've been associated with, and the amount of copycats that come in. And you're right. I don't mind them copying, but if they're so close that my customers get confused, I have a problem with it, right? But what you find is people get so caught up in people copying them, right? But the reality is, because you're the creator, you've got the DNA. By the time they've copied you, you're already on your next journey.
That's it. You're the source, right?
And so then they're going, oh, hang on, they've done that. I've got to now copy that. So forever, and people know. Like we've talked about Zara before in some of these conversations, and Zara says, hand up, we copy, right? Just so you know, and so you go, I understand their model. They go in and go, the top designers out there, they'll copy their stuff and they'll give it at an affordable price. That's their business model. Great. But it's the ones that go, no, we're not copying, but you are. People smell it. You've got to be authentic.
You've got to be, yeah.
Like, you can tell.
Yeah, you definitely can. So, yeah, I think that's it. Biggest mistake you can do in branding and all that. And it's right. That's an old cliche that says imitation is the greatest flattery, right? So if you're doing something good, expect the copycats will come.
Of course they will. Of course they will. Yeah, absolutely. And, even my husband and my sons have got a brand called Yochi, and there's suddenly all these things popping up that look so similar. And you do get very defensive and going, oh my God, they look like that. It's like, okay, let's just let it go. It'll be what it'll be. And you just focus on what you do best.
Yeah, that's key. Last question. And the second part is the second question is social media and marketing. What is your experience with conveying the message to the consumer and how I guess build a community of followers? What I find interesting about this question is,
it's confusing.
It is confusing. But I think what he's trying to say is, how do you position yourself on social media in the competition? How should you convey your message to be able to build a community? I think Boost has done that really well.
Yeah.
With all the changing mediums, and if it was paid advertisement or even in bloody schools, you're in the business studies curriculum.
But that wasn't an accident. So I remember they came to me and said, would you mind if this information goes into the textbooks, or would you do a video for us, right? And I thought to myself, because I just think marketing is really easy. I go, who's our target market, and how do I want to build my business one customer at a time. So if I'm in a classroom and these kids are sitting there in that classroom and they've got to understand my story and they've got to research it, then how good is that marketing?
It's so good.
You want to be in the textbooks. You want to be there, right? So the amount of kids, I must admit they should get an updated video, because I looked at it and my hair is literally to the floor and I'm looking like bedraggled and I'm answering these questions. So if anyone in the education department is looking at me, I'm happy to do an updated video.
Government, please contact Janine at gmail.com. No, that's not her.
Because seriously, I think it was 2002 I did that, right? So update it. But I think the key thing is that I knew that I would be able to touch base with hundreds and hundreds of students, which are my customers. Why wouldn't I do that? People get caught, I don't see the value in that. In actual fact, with media, you got to do a lot of things, and at some point it clicks over to, it's called The Tipping Point. There's a book on it called The Tipping Point, where you put it in, and suddenly it goes over. It's like that, they talk about instant successes that took 10 years, right? That's the theory of a tipping point. So going back to a question which is about how do you stand out, you go back to what we learned at the Business Academy, which is about archetypes, understanding who your brand and business is. Now, as I said, Boost is, the sage, the magician, and the jester. So, what we do is we have a lot of fun with it. We create new things. We it's the health component, but also it's a jester. We have fun with it. And you understand what people want to hear about. They want to hear about sex, gossip, health, how I'm going to live forever. And I can't remember the last one. But anyway, there's a last one, right? I can't remember. Anyway, but and if you can focus around those things that people want to know, then you will get traction. But equally, sometimes you do something and you think, oh, that's going to go nuts. That's a really good post,
so true.
Right?
Yeah.
And you get nothing, or you do something that you don't even put any effort into and it goes nuts, and you go, why? Why did that one work and not that one work? And sometimes things just get momentum for sometimes no reason at all.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. So once again, with the customer votes. Yeah. So you can think, oh, this is the best post ever, but they will vote and tell you if it's good or not.
Well, putting that question to you, Matt, because you're more of an expert in this field than I am, what have you found?
Yeah, well, social media, I feel like there's 5 things that make you stop the scroll. Like the new traffic is obviously all the platforms, and you're in competition with it, and you've got algorithms and all that. And what we find works with all our clients, and we work with heaps of them, like from top tier to middle-sized business, is it's all psychology. One is it a little strange can you do a bit of creative that's a little weird? So if we're walking down Martin Place and everyone's in suits, but there's a guy with a onesie on, they're going to stand out because your brain, your limbic system is blocking out everything and it spots irregularities.
Yeah.
So a bit weird. Danger is another thing. So it's like if there's a warning sign or don't do this, don't touch this, and it's like, okay, it's going to change my behavior because it's in my best interest not to die. Third thing is gifts. So if someone's on the corner handing out free juice bars, that's enticing. The fourth thing is status. So that could be the woman in the red dress. It could be sex. It could be a Rolex. It could be something that is culturally aspiring. And 5 is familiarity. So that could be nostalgia. It could be, hey, Matt, and it's an old friend, a familiar face that your reticular active system like spots through a crowd.
Yeah, nice.
So when we're on the feed, what's going to stop the scroll is how can your creative match your pillars like the jester and the brand and think, how can my creative be a little bit strange, familiar, and that will really help. And just post for 90 days straight.
Right, okay, yeah.
There's a 90-day game plan. Like me and my brand brother Dane Walker talk about this a lot. So post for 90 days and you'll learn really quickly after six weeks what's working, what's not, and it's the best place to start.
Well, it's interesting you say that because as a person on social media, right, and so if I pause on, dog videos, I pause on surf videos, so there's things I pause on, which then it's teaching them what I want more of. So if you're posting a lot and your algorithm saying I'm really interested in red dresses and you are selling red dresses and you've just got enough content out there, it'll eventually pop up on their feed.
Yeah, and the algorithm I know from working with Meta and all that is the algorithm, the platform rewards people who use the platform the best. So if you're posting a lot, big tick. If you're making someone spend time, it's a very simple formula, time spent on post, right? So if you stop and you're reading, and reading requires you to spend time to scan it, that's telling the platform that's something's happened here. So if we can do that, that's why hooks are important with videos. That's why reading's really cool with text. So you got to mix up the mediums.
Yep.
Sometimes a really long text on, say, Instagram or Facebook's great because it forces you to go, oh, and you spent 5 seconds on it. And then all of a sudden this thing's following you around.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. You teach this, don't you?
Yeah, I teach this all the time. That's what we do with a lot of our clients. So, it's matured. Social media's matured. It used to be the Wild West.
It changes. I mean, it was MySpace. MySpace had it.
Did you have a MySpace?
Theirs. Probably.
Yeah.
I think everyone did, but no one understood it really. They sort of got into it and went, okay, it was sort of the first Facebook, and then Facebook came, and then Facebook was the juggernaut, and then the kids are now on Snapchat, and then that I'm sure that would be replaced by something else. And it's just this, I've never known something to be so popular, like say a Facebook, and then something else to then shadow it, make it a shadow, like Instagram, and they do it to themselves in some respect because they change the algorithms to try and find their business model. So, but it's really interesting, and now you've got the TikToks really doing, but it's just like there's
so many platforms, and I think
and really targeted for different things.
For example, TikTok's all video. It's you can't post pictures and you can just post pictures with stories now, but
they have to move somehow, don't they? Like they kind of have to.
Yeah, it's not like you can't just post carousels and things like that, like on TikTok as much as it's not like Instagram. In Instagram, you can't just do like a status update like with your friends on Facebook. And it's funny, they're all copying each other's functionality. So Instagram being the big mover will copy Snapchat's feature of disappearing stories, and so I'll move first, and they will.
And then Be Real. Did you get into the Be Real?
Yeah, Be Real, yeah.
Right. Well, Be Real, they're all off it now.
Yeah,
right?
It's radio silence.
Yeah. So it was sort of the biggest thing since sliced bread, and everyone was like, it's Be Real. I didn't even know what they were talking about. My daughter's going, it's Be Real. I'm going, what?
Yeah. I never thought that would work because I thought,
no one wants it real.
No one wants it real. And it's like a ticking time bomb. So those who don't know what Be Real was, it's like you never know what time you have. It will send a notification to you to post right there and then. And you have to do it wherever you are, so it's more authentic. So you could be on the toilet.
Yeah.
No one wants to see that crap.
No.
Literally.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. So, but it was huge, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, and I was always thinking, how would a business commoditize from that? How would a business use that for their advertising and things like that? And I just never could figure out the pathway there for it.
But in the early days, though, with Facebook and Instagram, particularly before the algorithm change, people created multi-million-dollar businesses out of the reach they could get from Facebook and from Instagram. And then people sort of went, well, hang on, suddenly I went from being able to reach 100% of my followers to 10%.
Yeah.
And that suddenly it's like they went, hang on, how does that work? So, but then again, you can't blame Facebook and Instagram. They're a business.
They're a business, yeah.
They're trying to monetize it. And you're getting incredible exposure and incredible marketing from a platform. But you know, there was a point though, which I really think they're smart, is they gave you that for free.
Yeah.
And then they got you hooked in, and then they got the customers hooked in, and there they're going, well, it's now going to cost anything. But again, I don't think they're evil. I just think that they, you know, enabled people to test and try to then work out where they cost. So the cost of acquisition now is a lot more expensive than it ever was.
Yeah, the bait is much more expensive to catch the fish, that's for sure now.
But equally, it means that, you know, other brands that are coming in, whether it's TikTok or other ones, who are in that same journey, it's just trying to be that early adopter to actually get on early before they change it, so it becomes really expensive to advertise.
That's what I liked about TikTok at the start particularly, and it's still very generous with its algorithm. But people love TikTok because it was, you could post something and it would reach thousands and thousands of people with 0 followers.
Yeah.
So, and that was something that's value piece. You post on Instagram as crickets sometimes versus that. It's like, wow. And it created superstars overnight, and people, it's now starting to monetize and people are using it. But for me, it's like, it's about tapping into the brain in humans and being about the customer. And what we both agree on a lot is, on social media, don't just every single post trying to sell something.
Oh my God, no.
Don't be a freaking billboard. Like you got to, Gary Vee's thing is jab, 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 left hook. So like jab, 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 left hook is like right across the hook is give, then ask.
Yeah.
So give value, educate, inspire, entertain. And that's exactly the rhythm actually on sports, free-to-air TV, and also the ratio for how many ads you see after posts. So if you look on Instagram, it's about 4 posts before you see a sponsored one.
Okay, interesting.
And again, it's usually like 20 minutes watching viewing time and then an ad on free-to-air. So this is actually well-documented idea of giving, then asking, so that people aren't it's not too transactional.
Yeah, and I think that people just get into their head, I need to sell, but they don't understand that they've got to give value. We go back to the value proposition. You've got to give value, for then you have the right to ask. But you've got to create a relationship of some sort with people before you go, give me money.
Yeah,
give me money.
Yeah, it's like going up to the girl on the bar when you never met them and say, marry me. That's what I always say.
Sex now.
Sex now, please come home with me.
You got to buy the drink. You got to take them over dinner a number of times, and then
you got to call. You got to
That's actually a really good analogy. Really, you don't go up. As I said to my husband, being a bit rude, foreplay's not a tap on the shoulder, honey. Right? You've got to if you want to have sex, make me a beautiful glass of wine and put some candles on, and give, and then you'll get something.
Yeah.
None of this. You reckon it? You ready?
Yeah. Or demands like, I'm your husband. Or I know, you should know. Well, no. Yeah. I've totally, that's funny. For those guys out there,
tapping the shoulders.
Tapping the shoulder doesn't work. Okay, well, that's really good. So for our business academy community, we're going to answer your questions via our cohorts and also on things like this. So make sure you keep sending them through. It's fun.